Good morning, everyone. We are back with the pre-festival webinar series of the SDG International Film Festival organized by SDG Campus Club and IT Rourkela. First of all, I'd like to thank all our partner clubs who have joined us this morning for the webinar on gender equality, global perspective by Miss Ashley Maria. Miss Maria is a director and writer located in Los Angeles, California. She has attended the USC School of Cinematics Arts and is also the recipient of the prestigious Director Guild of America Award. To give her a brief insight into her work, she has been the director of Pioneer in Skirts and a lot of other award-winning movies. Miss Ashley is also an advocate for advancing women's opportunities and a North American delegate to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, which is the principal global policy-making body dedicated exclusively for gender equality. So, Ms. Maria will be discussing on gender equality today, and please feel free to post your questions in the chat, which we'll be taking as much as possible, obviously. And this is a short webinar, so stay tuned. Without taking much time, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Maria. Thank you, Ashley. We are honored to have you here today with us.
Hey everyone. Yes, put your questions in the chat and we'll answer at the end. Again, I'm Ashley Maria and I'm located in Los Angeles and it's actually going to be 100 degrees tomorrow. So bring some of that chili over here. I wanted to share with you before I jump in, like they said, I am a delegate to the UN, and so I found this in my drawer. And so I was like, here it is. This one has expired, so you can't, use it anymore. But it's been pretty cool. All right, you ready for me to do share screen? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes, Ashley, we are good to go.
Okay, cool. Okay. So if there are any issues or if I say something and you don't know what I mean or whatever, just have somebody chime in because I can't see you guys or see the chat right now. So if you just have a voice chime in and say, Ashley, wait, then I'll wait. So I'm here to talk to you about some more of the Sustainable Development Goals. I hear you all are doing a lot of work on them. It's very, very important. It is basically these 17 goals that the UN has put in place to reach an equal world. And I'm going to talk about SDG 5, gender equality, and then also SDG 10, reduced inequalities, because we have to consider the intersectionality of this issue. Again, I'm Ashley Maria. I was a delegate, and I am actually in Los Angeles, like they said. I'm in California, USA. This is a photo of me outside of our stock exchange in New York City. That's the Fearless Girl. She is, you may have seen an image of her. It's basically the coolest sculpture. She's telling the stock exchange to bring it on. Yeah, so I'm a writer and director. I made this film called Pioneers in Skirts, and because of my work on this documentary, I've been selected for a lot of gender equity conferences and panels and things like that because I've been studying, and honestly, I started making the film because I was concerned for my own future and concerned for my own future in my career as a filmmaker, and then went beyond the film industry to look at other industries and see really what is perpetuating this issue and what do we do about it. The issue of sexism, bias, unfair perceptions, stereotypes. What do we actually do to change it? Because if we don't do something, then we're just going to continue down this road. And so I feel you are all here because you see the necessity of actually doing something. So I hope I am providing something that you can do right now. One thing that you can do right now is go to that website. I put it on here. If you take a screen grab, you can actually watch the movie. It's available. We call it a virtual cinema, aka online. And then I also want to share with you, there's a national group, or international for that matter, that brought me to the UN. It's the Business and Professional Women's Clubs. They've got them all over the world, and they have a direct connection to the UN. And so that's how I got connected. So these are just two sites if you want to do further research. Of course, go throughout the United Nations website, go through other organizations that are working on these two SDGs, and then you'll start to learn so much more. And I'm like, that's right, I live in Los Angeles. Okay. So these are all the SDGs, and I'm sure you've all seen them. I am going to talk about SDG 5 up there, gender equality, and then also reduced inequalities. Side note, whenever you go to the UN, they have a store with all of this, and there's basically all the swag you can think of for every single SDG, and it's all something made sustainably. So I have a notebook that's a gender equality notebook that was made from like apples or something, and it still smells like apples. So it's pretty cool. All right. The sustainable, I'm going to show a video, so I hope this ends up working. The Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global changes we face, including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. That is the official statement for SDG. Can everybody make sure they mute themselves? I'm hearing some activity. All right, I'm going to play this video. Let me know if you can hear it okay.
This is a very important story. The important story. In the midst of COVID-19, it's an historic opportunity to look at the facts of the world as it is, and then to focus on the solutions to some of our greatest problems. In the 75 years since the United Nations was founded, the human race has never had to face a set of challenges like we do right now. But together, we can overcome them.
It's a myth that each and every one of us hasn't had the ability to change the world dramatically and quickly. There have been enormous shifts in power and behavior to the benefit of all humanity, and it can happen again.
Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." These are some of the things that must be done.
So what I just did was what we call a teaser. I want you to go, when this is done and you have some more time, check out Nations United. It's on the UN website. It's on YouTube. It's a 30-minute video, and it's fantastic. And it talks really about this all-encompassing urgency that we need, not just for gender equality, but what are we going to do about our planet? What are we going to do about poverty? Everything that the SDGs stand for. So it's just a very good film made very, very well that will help you get a better grasp on everything. Now, I'm also going to play another video for you because we're going to now dive into number 5, SDG 5. They want to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So I want you to look at this more as what is happening in our culture that is causing us to make this an initiative. You have to get it out of your head that women are broken, or women aren't competent enough, or women don't know enough. You have to start looking at it as what is happening around us that is basically putting women in their place. Okay, there's a lot. So I'm going to play this video for you, and then we're going to talk about some more of those specifics.
Women and girls experience cities differently to men and boys. Too often they face violence, discrimination in the labour market, and the burden of unpaid care work. They become invisible. Around the world, just 20% of councillors and 5% of mayors are women. Let's make cities with and for women. Many local governments are already taking action to mainstream gender equality across all areas of their work, provide services for women affected by violence in their homes, use urban planning to create safe public spaces, help to end labour market discrimination by employing and promoting women, encourage women to stand for local elected office and act as role models and mentors for girls, include local women and grassroots organisations in decision making. Sustainable Development Goal 5 is to ensure gender equality. The Sustainable Development Agenda depends on local governments.
So there has been progress. When the Sustainable Development Goals became this initiative with the UN, that was 2015. And it's because they realized we needed to give people more of an umbrella, more of a action to take, and so that we can keep year after year seeing how well we've progressed, like how well we progressed. So more girls are going to school. Fewer girls are forced into early marriage. More women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership. And laws are being reformed to advance gender equality. So all of this is good. Okay, we're not in some horrible situation. But like it says, despite these gains, many challenges remain. Discriminatory laws and social norms remain pervasive. Women continue to be underrepresented at all levels of political leadership. And 1 in 5 women and girls between the ages of 15 and 49 report experiencing physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner within a 12-month period. That's a lot to say. We are certainly not there yet. So let's make a world with and for women. The truth is, women's needs were left out of a lot of these decisions, a lot of the decision making. So what is it that's happening in our culture around us? Obviously, I speak from what's happening in a US culture, a North American culture, but what's happening in the culture around you? What's like the social norm? What is normal for a woman's role and a man's role? It may look different from country to country, city to city, community to community. So start to really think about what's going on around you. Policy and laws, obviously, I know in the US we're dealing with this a lot. There are a lot of laws that were not decided with women's opinion. So women have been fighting back and trying to get those laws changed. Budgeting, this goes for just how you're going to spend your money, even on businesses. Am I going to fund this business over here or this business over here? I'm sure you've heard this term, venture capitalist. A lot of, like, less than 5% of VCs will support women-owned businesses. And so it's just realizing, like, raising your awareness to we are progressing, but it's not big enough, and it's not big enough to meet the goals of the UN. So that's why it's very important that you're here and you understand, because you have to be the ones who actually call it out and say, this is not okay. We need to fix this. Safety and urban planning. That's really a fancy way of saying women are scared to walk alone at night. What are we going to do to help them? I think that was one of my biggest observations when I was a delegate at the UN, is just how many organizations and programs and initiatives have been, created to keep women safe from being attacked. It's disgusting, but that has to happen. And so one organization I know created this like initiative to put light at every bus stop. because women weren't going to work or coming home. You know, they were staying overnight because they were scared to actually wait at the bus stop. Seems super simple, but that's happening. Labor market discrimination and quotas. That's something that's happening a lot here in the US too. We have an initiative, especially in California, to have a certain percentage of women on a board of a company. And that quota just started like this year. So, and that's not even talking about women of color, you know, anything else. It's just women. That could be any kind of woman. So having these quotas for hiring, for financing, for things like that will help to bring gender equality actually to equality. And then education access. I mean, that's something that's happening that we're seeing a lot with COVID right now is how many women are actually putting off an education because they can't, they're spread so thin, right? So that's just, it's like everything kind of affects everything. And so I just want you to think, as you are hearing me speak on this topic, what around you could change now if you thought more of how women would use it or need it outside your window? What could actually change? And what kind of new support could you implement in your community to help women? I hope you're all thinking about it. If anything, I hope this just helps to raise awareness to what's going on around you. I mean, that's why we made that film, Pioneers in Skirts, because it helps to raise the awareness of what women are going through and then also the empathy of what women are going through. And like I said, supporting women will impact every single goal. This was another big thing I learned is if we didn't have clean water and sanitation, who's the first person in the family that has to go and walk those 5 miles in order to get clean water? The woman. And then if we didn't have proper, where's education? Quality education, number 4. Who's the first person that's going to be forgotten? Okay? There's just, there's so many things. I just hope you're opening your eyes to just, you know, how often women are, it's called unpaid care work. I should write that on there. Unpaid care work. That's the real big one. Women are forced to take on a lot of the roles if our culture and our society does not alleviate some of that responsibility. Now, I mentioned it earlier, this term intersectionality. So SDG 10, reduce inequality within and among countries. This SDG calls for reducing inequalities in income as well as those based on age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status within a country. Basically, leave no one behind. That was the SDG's biggest goal. And so as you consider how women have been left out of the conversation, you also must consider what other minority groups have been left out too. Consider this, consider the intersectionality of it. That was a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. She is a teacher, she's a lecturer. She came up with this term that really means when you think about a woman, does she intersect at race? Does she intersect at LGBT? Does she have a disability? You know, so is she a woman and she's dealing with this other thing? So that's what that means. Think about the intersectionality of what women are dealing with. And I was asked to speak on LGBT, and I think it's really important that we consider them as, you know, it's not just SDG 5, it's SDG 10, and it's that leave no one behind. Discriminatory laws, projects that don't acknowledge their specific needs, and negative social attitudes have all combined to hold LGBTQ people back. This discrimination takes many forms, from a trans person being limited to insecure and unsafe employment, to a lesbian being refused access to communal land, to a gay or bi man being denied a loan. Again, for those of us who may not be in that intersection, you know, we may not even be aware that these are issues. So opening your mind to it. Conduct research for a better understanding of how LGBTQ people are discriminated against economically. Make sure private sector development projects are designed to address the economic needs of LGBTQ people. I hope you can just read. I'm realizing I'm just reading it out, but just being more aware, support LGBTQ people to set up their own businesses. It's about just being conscious of the fact that there is more in play than just boy and girl. And then I also want to leave you, I know we're hitting the end now, I want to leave you with this. COVID-19, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic could reverse the limited progress that has been made on gender equality and women's rights. The coronavirus outbreak exacerbates existing inequalities for women and girls across every sphere, from health and the economy to security and social protection. It has put a spotlight on economic inequalities and fragile social safety nets that leave vulnerable communities to bear the brunt of this crisis, vulnerable populations. So, and then I have here unpaid care work. The really important thing here is, I think, because we're all finally talking about the same thing, COVID-19, it's like we finally all became a citizen of the world, and we realized how much of how much of what I do here affects someone over here, and like how we're communicating right now, at what, 10:30 on a Tuesday night for me, but it's really important to me that that I'm thinking of you, and it's really important for me to know that you are thinking of me. So I really hope that this conversation, however brief, is just helping you see, what can we do? Reducing inequality requires transformative change. Greater efforts are needed to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger and invest more in health, education, social protection, and decent jobs, especially for young people, migrants and refugees, and other vulnerable communities. Within countries, it is important to empower and promote inclusive social and economic growth. This seems so heady and important, I know. But that is actually what it looks like when you become a citizen of the world, like I said. So when you look at things like this list here, reducing inequality requires transformative change. Oh, that's so intense. This is what change looks like. What am I doing? What am I doing to push these SDGs forward? Change starts with you. You have to be the person to decide to do something. And then you start to build out and you talk to the community around you. You host events like this. You bring in speakers. You try to educate the people who really want to understand this. And then hopefully that spreads and that spreads and that spreads. Okay? Help your community and then look beyond it to help others. I said COVID-19 was the first time we all spoke the same language, and unfortunately that language was fear. And we saw the inequalities jump drastically. So the UN, I want to tell you this real fast. The UN, the moment COVID-19 shut down and the moment everybody was forced to be in their homes, the UN put on a massive campaign to make people aware of domestic violence. And that is not just husband and wife or whatever, it's with kids too. And unfortunately, it has risen because everybody's been forced to stay at home. And so I want you to consider that and start doing research on how can you recognize when these things are happening and see if you can become an advocate. But look into what the UN's been doing, because immediately they knew that is something that's going to be impacting women. I want you to think about, what are you doing? Okay. Some important dates to keep in mind. Coming up is International Day of the Girl Child. The film I worked on is actually doing a lot of screenings that week. And then, in case you don't know this yet, the UN, United Nations, their deadline to meet these goals is the year 2030. which is 10 years away, and COVID-19 super pushed us back. The SDGs are designed to bring the world to several life-changing zeros, including zero poverty, hunger, preventable child deaths, AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, discrimination against women and girls, and human trafficking. Once a year, the member states gather to look at their progress. So do you think we can do it? Be part of the solution. Bit by bit, we can get to a more equal world. Be more intentional. Hear how you are presenting these issues. Hear how you are speaking to the women around you and the men around you. Call out something when something is wrong. That's really, really important. If you notice somebody say something that's at the expense of someone else, don't laugh it off. Do not. This is the moment. This is the moment when you get to say, hey, that's not cool, right? I don't know, that was lame. But that's how you do it. Always assume good intent, I say, and then just hold that person accountable. Hold yourself accountable. And then, like you're doing today, learn about the issues. Explore the biases that have ingrained themselves in you, forgive yourself, and then correct the behavior. All right. That's me one more time. I'm giving you my final pose. If you didn't write it down before, that's my website and the that National Federation. Okay. I think I hit my time. How did I do, everybody?
I think you did great, Ashley. Anyway,
Okay.
that was quite insightful. Indeed, we need to bring about social mobilization on topics such as these. You know, the SDGs are kind of interrelated, as you just mentioned. So, like right now, we'll be moving on with the questions. We have been getting quite a few from the audience. So the format which we'll be following is I'll be shooting questions at you, and you can give a short answer or a description.
How much time do we have? Do people have?
We still have 15 minutes, approx 10 to 15 minutes, because we started 10 minutes late. So we
Okay.
are well on time, 40 to 45 minutes webinar. Yeah. Okay, so the first question is from Ms. Sheila D'Souza. How about stopping others from defaming women? Often we join in slandering women, support women when they stand up for their rights, maybe at the workplace, at home, in the society. I think Ms. Maria has addressed this quite beautifully in her presentation, that it's the, we need to bring about a change and call out people from doing such activities. But Ms. Maria, if you'd like to give a little bit more insight, you can. Otherwise, I'll move on with the next question.
Well, yeah, it looks like that came in just before I mentioned it on the presentation. So Sheila, I'm thankful for that question, because this is obviously something that's really frustrating. So I want all the men on this call to read that and decide now that you are going to say something the next time something like this is happening. She didn't even have to get through the whole presentation before she said, this is something I'm dealing with, okay? So how about stopping others from defaming women? How about we do it? Okay, we can move on to the next. I agree.
Definitely. So the next question is from Mr. Gopinath Sahu. How do you suggest we resolve internalization of patriarchy among women? And this is an issue I believe is persistent in the Western culture too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something I had to really deal with myself. I'm going to tell you one thing that I did, and you tell me if this is something that rings true. I would say things like, I'm not like most women. I like to do this. Or I'm not like most women because I don't like that. That right there is me confirming a stereotype without even realizing it. So little things like that, you have to forgive yourself, like I said. You really have to forgive yourself because you've been so trained. And here's the other thing. I think we need to get rid of that term tomboy If you've heard that term, it's like when a girl decides to climb a tree, she's called a tomboy. I'm like, no, we're done with that too. Because who says what a girl is supposed to look like, right? You're going to get so overwhelmed when you start to see and feel all of those things that are ingrained in us. Like I was saying, all these biases, these stereotypes, call them out in yourself, forgive yourself, and stop. So another thing that I do, so I no longer do that thing where I say, I'm not like most women, because no women are like most women. There are no most women. We're all different and we're all cool. The other thing that I had to teach myself to do was to look at a group of women and actually call them women. Don't call them girls. Does anyone else do that? You look at a group of women and you say, oh, those girls over there. I'm like, no, they're in their 30s. Okay, they're women. So really catch yourself when you're saying things like that. Like I said, though, you're going to go down this journey, and your journey has to start somewhere, and you have to forgive yourself and get better. Okay? Okay.
The next question is from Karthik Maladi. So it's a twofold question. The first one being, not to sound too rude, Miss Maria, but which one do you prefer? 50-50 men and women at any employment, or and the second part is people who are eligible. This may include chances of either 100% men or 100% women based on the knowledge work on field, because I did hear the arguments of reservation for women, even though there might be people who are better at field and work. So which one do you prefer, 50% reservation for women, or making it a level playing field? So I guess this is a question on equity and equality, which you can address.
Yeah, it's a common question we get too. And at first it seems like, well, you don't want to just put people in these roles who don't know what they're doing. So what we tell people is you have to work harder to find women who know what they're doing. And then you have to work harder to increase the pipeline. So what this is really referring to is the fact that we don't have a pipeline that's bringing in more women and women of color and people with more diverse backgrounds. We don't have a pipeline that's supporting them. So for example, women may not feel supported in the engineering fields because somebody told them when they were in middle school that women are bad at math. Okay, that's where the pipeline starts. And then we have to encourage them and go, no, women are good at math. No, we need to look at that person who looked at her and said this stereotype that in middle school years gets really, really stuck in there. So I think you have to have these hiring quotas because it requires the company to look harder, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be frustrating, but those people are out there. If you don't have these hiring quotas, then who are they going to hire? Other people who look just like them. I know it's tough and I know it's hard, but you have to do it. And then you have to look in the pipeline and figure out why you don't have enough of a certain kind coming up and interested. It's not because women aren't interested, and it's not because they aren't good. It's because we are not supporting them, and there's so much in our culture chipping away at them that honestly, you have to watch Pioneers in Skirts. Then you will totally understand what I'm talking about. I'm really not trying to push it that hard. But yeah, there's so much in our culture that's preventing them from reaching their full potential. You can't even look at it and go, they're not interested. Okay.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Can I throw in a...
Go ahead. Jasper, go ahead.
I grew up in a very conservative culture. My area is full of conservative people, and when a woman wears some kind of like pants, and the man wears dresses, other people tend to talk. Even my mom tends to talk about it. I mean, like she's something else. She's not a woman. She's like very ugly things about us. Can you get what I'm saying?
So basically, when you try to be different, people are saying, "Oh, you are this and you are that," or not you, but just like in your circle.
Yes. So what can I talk about to my mom? How can I talk about to my mom and my aunt not to talk like that. When I
Yeah.
start talking about that, don't do like that, don't do this, and they'll start taking it as offensive kind of thing. So how
Yeah.
can I make them understand that that's not all right?
That's an amazing question. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Also, Ashley, if I could interrupt you for a second, there was one more similar question, so we would like to club it with Jasper's question. There was a question from Satabdi Mahana that she is the smallest member of the family, and what steps can she take in the household to stop stereotypical thoughts of parents and grandparents regarding gender equality, or the older generation, like since they are a little bit more orthodox. So, if you could club it with Jasper's question, that would be great.
All right, I'm taking screenshots of everything just in case I don't get to everybody, and then I can maybe do it another way. So let me think about this, because I'm trying to think like what I would do, I talked to someone recently about it, and the best way to approach someone is directly. I mean, it sounds like you're doing the right thing by saying, it's not okay to say that. The world is changing, the culture's changing, and it's like having that honest heart to heart and saying, maybe not say it hurts my feelings when you do that, but if you say things like, it makes me think that you don't respect me, like I'm sorry, I missed the name of the woman who said, how do I basically defend myself? I have some relatives who think a lot of negative stuff about what's going on, and how our culture is evolving and leaving them behind a little bit, and I try to listen to what they're fearful of, because a lot of times that energy comes from fear, and they don't want the world to change, and they have all these assumptions. And the good news is you all are saying something, and that is, you have to keep it up. And I know it can be exhausting and frustrating, but you have to keep it up. And that's why you have your circle of people to also turn and talk to, like women's groups are really helpful, or LGBT groups are helpful. That's why you have that community to kind of get that support. But then you go to that parent, and you have to say, honestly, this is me, this is how I want to dress, or this is how that person wants to dress, and they're really smart, they're really cool, and I think it's, you're not respecting them when you say things like that, or you're not respecting me. And they may laugh it off, but here's the other secret. You have to get somebody on your side that they're going to pay attention to. And that's really frustrating, I know, but like if I'm in a circle of people and the guy's just not listening to me, and I know I need to get my point across, I have to go find an advocate in the room and have that person really force the other person, So it's like, if your dad understands you and understands that things can be frustrating, maybe they have to talk to your mom. Maybe they don't hear it from you because you're the kid. Those are some ideas, but I think the really important thing is to be straightforward. Hold yourself accountable, though. Like, don't get emotional. Take a breath. If you're really frustrated, it might come across as like, oh, this little baby. Take a breath, walk away, and come back and just say, hey, I don't like when you do that. Okay?
Definitely. So we'll take the final two questions now. Most of them have been quite similar. So one of the questions which I feel is a little different is most of the developing countries, including the Southeast Asian countries, including India, also face this gender biasing or stereotype, as well as the developed countries do the same. So what could be the possible reasons? Obviously, in a developing country like India, there could be multiple reasons, including education, or say poverty rates, high poverty rates, or some other factors, which are basically the SDG developmental areas that we have been talking about. But what is the exact problem with developed countries, say, for example, superpowers or the P5 countries? Because, that is something where they they do face problems, but again, they are better off than the developing countries. So what could the problems be there? Is it in the attitude, or is it with the social mobilization of people? Like, what is the
So
problem?
yeah, it's definitely a lot in the social. It's a lot in the media. So I think some people are asking about the film industry. We're part of the problem too. If you look at movies from like the 2000s, they're like so offensive, and those are the movies we all grew up on. Okay, so it's kind of like realizing when these things are in play is the first line of defense. There's so much like I know nobody, I don't know, people may not be parents yet, I don't know, but parents try so hard, and they are doing right. The problem is often sometimes, like we've been saying, the grandparents are not progressing fast enough. You know, they're giving the daughter a science kit and saying something like, even girls can do science. Just that sentence right there tells her it's not normal for a girl to do science. I know it seems super simple, but it's like those little things chip away at a woman over time. And I saw somebody said we can't leave men behind. Of course. We all need to support each other. I think it's just so important that we realize, and that's something that, you know, I think a lot of people in the US are starting to realize. A lot of us start this race called life a few steps behind than the person next to us. And so it's important to realize we have to turn and pull someone with us. I started the race a few steps ahead because I'm a white woman, right? And so and I'm in the US. Who knows? So I have to look and say, okay, how can I help somebody who didn't start the race as fast? So that's really important. Men have to be a part of the conversation, and we all have to feel included in the conversation. Did that answer your question?
I guess it does. Anyway, I think all our questions have been addressed, but there's one last question which is quite generic and is from a fake profile, probably. I don't know. The guy didn't want to name himself, so it's from a cartoon character like Ash Ketchum. It's one of our series characters that we used to watch. So why is it okay for a woman to hit back a man and not the other way around? It's about, fake feminism, and there were a few questions, but again, like, I would like you to take a overall global approach on this one. Like,
yeah, I don't know what fake feminism is, and I don't have an opinion on why is it okay for a woman to hit a man and not the other way around. I think those are two questions that you need to do some soul searching, and might need to change the people that you hang around.
Definitely.
Might need to figure something else out. I took it. Oh, is that really loud? Sorry.
Yeah, you can take screenshots. No issues. No issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have come to the end of this webinar. If there are any more questions, we'll get back to you over mail. Yes, sir, I'll give you the last slot. Don't worry. So, is it fine, Maria, if I can provide your email ID to the interested participants of this webinar to reach out to you?
Say that one more time.
Can I provide your email ID to the interested participants who haven't been able to address their questions in this webinar to reach out to you via mail?
The best way is actually maybe I have a different email address.
All right. We'll figure that out. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have a talk and we'll figure that out. Anyway, Jasper, I think you can have the last question. We still have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Miss Ashley, especially in rural area, this kind of campaign about gender equality and LGBTQ, they don't reach that far into much in rural area. I'm from India, so I know more of rural India. So what can we do to reach them more deeply to them? Where there's a places like, if we talk about gender equality and LGBTQ, and it's just taboo topic and no one's talk about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's shy to talk about it. What can we do to reach those people?
Jasper, I want us to be friends. So you have to do things in a way where somebody that they are paying attention to is speaking on this. So there are so many organizations that are trying to do this. I feel like, sorry. Anyways, so there are organizations who are trying to get in there, but you got to consider, okay, am I really going to sit down and listen to this person talk to me about LGBT, or am I going to watch this movie, or am I going to listen to my uncle tell me, about this meeting he had, and maybe it has to involve LGBT. So it's kind of like making these issues a part of your everyday conversation. So you're kind of constantly bringing it up in these rural places. Like, are you actually going there, Jasper? Like, it sounds like you have to be on your feet. Unfortunately, with COVID, it's hard.
No, I wasn't going there. I have my relatives in rural area, so when I visit there, I find that gender equality and LGBT kind of topic is like totally taboo topic. No one's talk about it. My friends from there are really not in the mood to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, what can we do about it?
Isn't that funny? I think that's when movies and things like that can be really impactful. If there's a movie or something fun that you can bring to them and show them, like that's why celebrities are really trying to put all these issues on their backs too, because people actually pay attention to them. That's why filmmakers are constantly out there trying to make art and expose people to it. So it's about the exposure. So maybe it's not, I'm going to sit down and talk to you about LGBT, but I'm going to have you watch this movie that has an LGBT character in it. And then you start to build empathy around that, and it becomes normalized. And then you can actually talk about it.
Thank you, Jasper. Thank you, Ms. Ashley. So,
Thank you
like
very
one
much.
of our audience members' questions have been missed out. So, if you could quickly give a 2-minute brief on the psychological approach. So, Chaitanya here has asked, how about if we take a psychological approach to the issue and try to build a social paradigm on building gender equality? What is your take on that? The psychological approach.
Yeah, I'm not so, the only thing I can really speak to is the bias that gets ingrained in us and how it's unconscious. And so the only way you're going to make that conscious is by bringing awareness to it. So exposing yourself to different content, exposing yourself to different sessions like this, different kinds of people, that's the only way you're going to make your biases that you have conscious, and then you can start to work through them.
Definitely.
So that's my best answer for psychological.
Sure. So we come to an end of the question and answer session. We overshot by 10 minutes, which I was expecting. But anyway, if you have any other questions, guys, you can reach out to us. I have put forward the club's email ID. What we'll do is we'll send a list of compilation of questions to Ms. Ashley later, and we will send you back the answers in the form of a Word document, if that's fine. Like that would save us a lot of trouble. Also, Ms. Ashley, I would like to thank you for attending this session as a keynote speaker. We wanted to have you at the film festival as well. So the film festival, which we are having on 3rd and 4th of October, we are actually screening feature award-winning movies. So there's one question which I had in mind. Like, would you mind if we screen one of your movies too, if there is any on the sustainable development goals, as you were mentioning?
I don't have any shorter ones. Pioneers and Skirts is the only one. So
Okay.
that's available on Vimeo, but it's not available for free yet.
Right.
So
I understand. No issues. Yeah. Anyway, I think it was a great session. So we were successful in bringing out the problem of gender equality. And guys, a big thank you to all our clubs who have collaborated with us. We had almost 21 clubs, but probably due to the morning session, we had a little bit less attendance. I'd like to also thank Mr. Professor Ramakrishna Biswal. I think he was with us here as well. He's a professor at Department of Humanities and Social Sciences in NIT Rourkela. He'll be also joining us for the film festival. So all the action, all the screenings, and all the directors who will be joining us, like the format is such that a short documentary will be screened and the director who has directed that movie will be present and he'll be clearing your queries. So it's going to be a action-packed weekend which is coming on 3rd and 4th October. Do join us and do connect with us for the same. And we are also having one more webinar on ocean governance and blue economy. So the details of which will be sent in your registered email IDs and the WhatsApp group. Thank you, Miss Maria, again. And with that, I think we can end this session. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yeah,
It
let
was
me
a
just
pleasure
say,
having you. Yes.
I want to just say these were probably one of the best questions seminars. I don't know how you say those words. So I appreciate all of you being honest and asking these questions. I'm gonna percolate on them and think even more because it's fantastic, and I appreciate you all bringing your whole selves to this. And good luck. Good luck. And then email me offline about a screening, man. You put me on the spot.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, I didn't really want to ask you that question live, but again, it was just a spontaneous reaction. Anyway, it was a great session. Thank you again. Look forward to more such sessions. Maybe we will call you back again when we have different kind of festival. Maybe something on not so SDG centric. I think Miss Ashley, it was an enjoyable session, right, guys? Like, I hope all of you enjoyed it. And yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you, Miss Mary, again.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, Mr. Master.